Throughout his history, Ben 10 has faced monsters, galactic conquerors, enemies with the powers of a supreme alien, and even aliens from very distant futures. Some battles managed to put the entire universe in danger, but only a few stood out above the rest, whether it was because of their intensity, what was at stake, or the incredible moments they gave us. So you'd better get ready, because today we're gonna go over the most epic battles in the entire Ben 10 franchise. Way Big versus Malware. The first episodes of Ben 10 Omniverse weren't very outstanding, especially when it came to battles, since they were pretty dull, or at least that's what I thought until the episode Showdown premiered. An episode in which Ben would face one of his greatest nightmares, as he would fight Malware in one of the most epic battles. The fight would start with Ben falling on top of Malware in a very funny way. And what happened to Malware? Although we all know that this Mechamorph wouldn't go down with that attack, so Way Big would look for a way to crush him. Unable to do so, he decides to fight head-on like a real man, landing blow after blow on Malware. However, the latter would look for a way to break Ben, making him remember his dark past.
You came back to face me again when I almost destroyed you. You're a fool, Ben Tennyson.
The Mechamorph's words had no effect on Ben. Instead, they gave him strength as he got up to give him the beating of his life, managing to injure him with a powerful energy blast that ended up splitting the Mechamorph in two. However, this attack was not a good idea, as it would only cause Malware to become more powerful, turning the fight around and allowing him to win completely thanks to all the power he had gained. The Bens versus Ultimate Aggregor. Most of the battles we've seen have been epic, but when the multiverse opens up, they become legendary. Ultimate Alien brings us a very nostalgic reunion. I'm telling you, I saw something move over there. Not something. Someone. I'm Ben Tennyson. Both Tennysons were preparing for the battle of their lives at the Forge of Creation, where the main goal was to stop Aggregor, who was seeking ultimate power. Yes, he wanted to absorb the power of a baby Alien X. Now, young Ben's inexperience made the battle frustrating, since his lack of experience made him an easy target. Just like Ben 10,000, he would help his younger version by transforming him into a flying alien capable of attacking from a distance. Ben, for his part, would use the ultimate version of Swampfire, who would quickly use his seed bombs against Ultimate Aggregor, trapping him and allowing his younger version to attack him with Stinkfly. But previously, Ultimate Aggregor had already given us a small demonstration of his power. When things get serious, he usually finishes his opponents with a single blow. Against Stinkfly, he'd use a Terraspin attack, and against Ben, an Amphibian attack, leaving him out of action and surprising me quite a bit, since let's not forget that he's still an Ultimate Alien. Ben 10 Omniverse, do you still want to leave Ultimate Aggregor as just a memory? Way Big versus the Way Bigs. The abilities and powers that Way Big has shown us have given us a lot to talk about, and his battles are no exception. Well, it would leave us with a great variety of these, along with nostalgic, epic, and iconic moments. One of them happens in the episode The Frogs of War Part 2. In this episode, Ben has to face several Tokastars, extremely powerful aliens, reaching a power level similar to or even greater than Way Big. The fight would begin with an exchange of blows between both giants, and one of them would use a cosmic ray to take Ben out. However, Way Big's strategy and skill would be far superior, and we would see this demonstrated in the way he breaks free from the enemy Tokastar, using a powerful and effective devastating kick. As a result, more giants would arrive to destroy Ben, to the point of cornering him, causing none other than Godarded himself to intervene to take down one of them, easing the pressure of the battle and winning it with the help of the plumbers. In the end, Way Big would not only crush these powerful aliens, but also the enemy Incursian ship. Kevin's abilities already make him a very dangerous being, but what about his future version, Kevin 11,000? Well, all of this is covered in the episode Ken 10, where they introduce us to a very different Kevin.
I think I should thank you. Thanks to all the time I spent in the project, I was able to pick up some tricks from the aliens you had locked up.
Subscribe. And yes, he would have a reunion with Ben 10,000 where he would show off his new powers. Well, the time he spent in the projector would be just enough to collect the DNA of several extremely powerful aliens. He would use his arm covered in fire, with which he would try to destroy Ben, so Ben would respond with a powerful forearms punch. To which Kevin would grab a large piece of concrete, hit Ben, and give him an effective and powerful mechamorph shock, with which he would finish Ben off. Or, well, only momentarily, since a second later, Devin Levin would intervene. Dad.
Stop! You've already shown you're the best. Let's go!
Do you think there's something to prove? Ben couldn't leave things like that, so he would get up more powerful than ever, and literally with a single punch he would send Kevin flying. This way, the battle between Forearms and Kevin ended, also becoming one of the most historic battles in the Ben 10 multiverse, since in the end, Kevin would get a taste of his own medicine, Bill. Ben 10,000. One of the most nostalgic battles that the Ben 10 universe would give us can be found in the original series, specifically in the episode Ben 10,000. In this episode, Ben and Gwen would travel against their will to the future of Ben 10,000, where they would meet their adult versions, who needed help to defeat a few threats, since Dr. Animo had brought Bill Vilgax back from the dead, so to speak. He would regenerate the squid's destroyed parts and improve him, reviving a great nightmare for Ben and Ben 10,000. So these last two would join forces to fight against Bill Vilgax in a fierce battle, which would begin with Vilgax kicking Cannonball's butt and then several of Ben 10,000's aliens. Little Ben would try to help, although he wouldn't achieve much, since Vilgax's great strength and the knowledge he had gained during all his battles, plus the upgrades he received from Dr. Animo, made him an unpredictable being. It would be useless to fight against him, so Ben 10,000 would have no choice but to come up with a plan in his human form to outsmart the squid. He would manage to lure him to an area full of water, where he would make him fall and take advantage of the moment to transform into Artiguana, with which he would end the battle, leaving us with a frozen Vilgax. Thank you, Mad Ben's universe is among the most intriguing in the Ben 10 multiverse. In a post-apocalyptic world where only the strongest survive, Ben along with Ben 23 would realize this upon arriving in Mad Ben's dimension. In the world of Mad Ben, they would encounter various villains, but the one we will highlight and talk about is Mad Ben, an alternate version of the original Ben.
Well, my interdimensional counterparts, I think there are too many of us, Ben. Haven't we seen him before? Yeah, and we kicked his butt. He's one of the evil Bens who was with Vilgax. Good memory.
Starting the stellar battle, Ben would use Yuri Rich and Ben 23 would use Royal Way. All of this to fight against Diamond, who would literally attack with the little diamonds, giving Ben 23 a good opportunity to attack Mad Ben, although he would be stopped by him. And when everything seemed lost, Ben would return with an artifact he had created. And by using it, he would hit Diamond Head and the Rook from this dimension, but they would only end up being trapped with no chance to escape. Ben would use Clawar, with whom he would end the battle, since with a simple time ray, and not just simple, a powerful Sodoboro wave ray, he would finish off Mad Ben.
Un mongosaurio versus
Supreme. The battles in the world of Ben 10 are some of the most epic and interesting things, even more so when it comes to aliens that only have brute strength like Humungosaur. Since in the episode The Infinity Map, we would witness a great battle, as Ben would face Ultimate Aggregor, who had absorbed 5 specific aliens that would allow him to obtain supreme power. Although in the first minutes of the battle, the exact opposite would happen, since Bacchus Asasaur seemed to have the advantage, landing blow after blow and making him look ridiculous. As the battle went on, we would notice that Ben was filled with great anger because of the actions Aggregor had committed. We would see this anger represented moments later, as he would lift a huge house and use it to hit Aggregor, sending him flying a considerable distance. Even with all this, Ben wouldn't be satisfied, so he would decide to deliver the final blow. However, Gwen would stop him, but we would only see Aggregor escaping while laughing. The power that Aggregor had gained was on another level, so now he would start returning all the blows he had received. The last of the blows would be devastating, as it would literally take down an Asasario.
An ultimate Mungosaur versus...
The addition of...
The ultimate forms gave...
change in design, in abilities, and we ended up with the power the aliens would gain in their ultimate forms would be multiplied many times over. A clear example of this is in this game, the confrontation with Albedo, championship at...
En el episodio La Batalla Final, parte 1.
Maybe the episode The Final Battle, Part 1. In this episode, Albedo would use it for the first time, which was...
presentándonos a un Mungosaurio Supremo. La llegada...
an ultimate Humungosaur. His arrival would happen to face the previous Humungosaur. Here would be the first time we would see an ultimate in action, and we would also understand why they are called ultimate forms, since what started as a battle turned into the beating that Ben would receive from Albedo, who only needed one hit to send a Humungosaur flying. After this, he would use one of the most powerful abilities that this ultimate has, turning his hands into machine guns and firing a large number of missiles at Ben, knocking him down and making him lose the fight, in a somewhat humiliating way, but it was partly to be expected since this ultimate had enough strength to take down Way Big in the episode The Ultimate Sacrifice. Vilgax vs Ghost Freak. This fight isn't between heroes, but I still felt it was necessary to include it in the ranking since it's one of the most legendary battles of alien strength. The episode Ghost Town would give us several surprises, such as the fight between Ghost Freak and Vilgax. Not to mention the alliance of the latter with the Tennysons, since they would join forces to free Vilgaxia from the clutches of Ghost Freak. They set in motion a plan created by Ben, which doesn't go so well since it only leads to a battle between the squid and the third one. The latter had enough power to push Vilgax back, causing Ben to interfere in the fight and let himself be possessed by Ghost Freak, acquiring his DNA and winning the battle. Or well, that's what they make us think, since here we would have an unexpected plot twist. Because the power that Ghost Freak had acquired had turned him into an extremely powerful being, managing to take control of Ben's body and seriously injuring Kevin. Vilgax, seeing this, would take advantage of the situation. He would have the chance to defeat his two greatest enemies in one shot.
What a wonderful opportunity. My two greatest enemies in one body. As the saying goes, kill two birds with one stone.
Gwen would try to stop him, but Vilgax's greed and desire wouldn't allow it. And he would try to finish off Ghost Freak and Ben at the same time, using the power he gained from conquering the 10 worlds. That's right, gentlemen. Vilgax couldn't handle Ghost Freak even with that power, as he would only take hit after hit, being completely humiliated. But as we all know, Vilgax is one of the biggest antagonists in Ben 10, and an antagonist needs his moment of glory. After being cornered and trapped by Ghost Freak's minions, he would reveal his true power, cleverly freeing himself from the clutches of terror, and giving Ben a timely opportunity to... Without a doubt, the Ultimate Forms have given us epic moments, as well as mythical and even legendary battles. And what better way to represent this than with what we saw in the episode The Enemy of My Enemy? An episode in which we would see a battle between friends, since maybe absorbing the powers of the Ultimatrix and Ultimate Aggregor wouldn't be a good idea for Kevin, as he would be possessed by Osmosian madness, causing him to take revenge on the people who once hurt him in the past. Hey, you don't look good at all.
I'm fine. I'm just taking care of some old business.
What do you mean?
I decided to take revenge on everyone who has hurt me.
Kevin would go all the way to the Plumber's Academy to take Argent's head, who was under the protection of Gwen and Ben, so Kevin would show up before them to take revenge, and we would see how both friends would use their ultimate powers. For his part, Kevin would use the absorb powers from the Ultimatrix and Ultimate Aggregor, and Ben would use the ultimate version of a Humongosaur to impress Kevin. This way, the ultimate showdown would begin. Yes, Kevin would end up winning the battle, since his power level was much higher than what we know as Ultimate Humongosaur, and not only would Ben lose this little fight, but Gwen as well, since she would be completely destroyed.
Why did you care?
Mutated Kevin versus Grandpa Max. My goodness, the courage and bravery that Grandpa Max had in Ultimate Alien. Being just a simple human, he stood up to one of the worst Kevins in the saga, who was possessed by osmotion madness and wanted Gwen's powers. She can't come out right now, can I help you?
Unless you want another trip to the hospital, step aside, old man.
The damage, along with the plumbers, made Max get ready for one of the toughest battles of his life. Using all the plumber's gadgets, he started a battle that was almost impossible to win, since Kevin would absorb the attacks thanks to the stolen stone abilities. But Grandpa Max is the freaking Grandpa Max, capable of sacrificing his most precious possession, the RV, just to protect the well-being of his family. An action that would only manage to anger.
I don't know why I admired you. You don't have any powers.
Powers or not, Max proved to be capable enough to fight against a real monster. Frankenstrike vs. Mummy and Ghost Freak. The original series gave us several epic and interesting battles, and one of them happens in the episode Be Afraid of the Dark. In this episode, the teen Tennysons were in space to stop Ghost Freak and his henchmen's plan. Their goal was to cover the Earth in eternal darkness. All of this was for Ghost Freak's survival and benefit, which at the same time would also bring about the end of humanity. However, this last part would not happen, since the villain's plan would be thwarted by Ben, who had arrived more powerful than ever with his latest transformation obtained from Dr. Victor. The battle would begin on the space station, with Ben using the abilities and powers of this new alien. He used a powerful electric shock to strike Ghost Freak. However, he wouldn't achieve anything, since the intangibility of this being would allow him to catch Ben, taking him outside the space station. A place where this villain would unlock his full potential thanks to the darkness of space.
Here, in the darkness of space, I'm at my maximum potential.
Ben would be about to destroy the transmitter, however, Phantasmatico would intervene, and we would witness a monstrous clash of power. After this, the scene shifts to Gwen's perspective as she fights Mummy and frees herself in a unique way. Then we would return to Ben and his confrontation with Phantasmatico, where we would witness the return of the Mummy. She would join forces with Phantasmatico to fight against the bearer of the Omnitrix, making the battle even more difficult. Because Grandpa Max would destroy the transmitter, making the Terror angry and causing him to finally unleash his full potential. The power these villains wielded would be so great that Dr. Victor himself would cause their destruction, as he would create a portal that would completely absorb them. When victory seemed certain, Ghost Freak would return to put our heroes in danger. However, he didn't expect the intervention of Cousin Gwen, who would step in to help. And a lot in these last minutes, since she would open the ship's hatch. This would let the sun's rays in, and finally, once and for all, disintegrate Ghost Freak. Ben versus Mutated Kevin. Kevin's mutations are the best when it comes to power and combat abilities. And we would see this clearly represented in the battle against Ben in the episode Weapon 11. In this episode, Kevin had mutated again, absorbing the DNA and power of several of Ben's aliens. In this way, he gained enormous power with which he would put Swampfire in trouble, since he would use the abilities and powers of several aliens. Among these were Gravitack, an alien with whom he would frequently hit Ben, Ball Weevil, with whom he would shoot small plasma balls, Astrodactyl, with whom he would use an energy whip, and finally Shock Squatch and Feedback. The power of this new mutation would turn Kevin into an unstoppable being, having enough strength and power to give Ben a memorable beating. Since he would end up wiping the floor with Ben Tennyson, here they would finally show us just how all-powerful the Osmosian can be during a fierce battle. We all know that Ben is the bearer of the Omnitrix, but what would happen if its creator was the bearer? What battles could we see if Azimuth himself used the Omnitrix? Well, let me tell you that we gotta see all of this in Primus, and yes, Azimuth would be forced to use one of his greatest creations against the squid Vilgax. As usual, Vilgax was trying to get his hands on the Omnitrix and all its power. This started a battle for the fate of Primus and the Watch. Azimuth, transformed into a Mungo Mongosaur, would take a direct hit from Vilgax. He would respond with all his weight in true wrestling style. Azimuth would throw himself at Vilgax, and if that wasn't enough, on all fours, a Mongosaur would also deliver a headbutt. In the second and final round, both fighters would get up to show us their true power.
Let me tell you something, my dear Vilgax. Conqueror of 10 worlds, Azimuth will be the one to defeat you. Azimuth will bring you down even if you're standing right here.
Azimuth would pull up his pants and finish off Vilgax even in his rat form, throwing the huge rock back at him, but without any trouble, Vilgax would destroy it and send a lethal attack that would knock him out. With Azimuth defeated, the Tennysons would intervene, but they wouldn't achieve anything except getting a monumental beating, leaving Vilgax as the champion of this battle, since he had achieved what he desired most.
At last the Omnitrix is mine. No! Witness the power of the Omnitrix.
Forearms versus Kevin. The original series gave us some battles that were so well portrayed they became iconic, since Ben versus Kevin would give us a whole series of these. In the episode Stealing Powers, we would see the debut of someone who would become a thorn in the side for the Temyson. Since from the very beginning, Kevin would start stealing Ben's powers, causing a need we know as Osmosian madness. I tricked you, I absorb energy, remember? The first of the battles begins with Kevin stealing Forearm's power. A brutal Tetraman fight begins, in which Kevin's abilities are on full display in the fight, since he would give Ben a severe beating, or at least that's what we were led to believe, because the Omnitrix about to finish its transformation would make Ben use his true power, kicking Kevin and unleashing a hellish combo of punches that would end with Kevin begging for forgiveness. No!
Please, little warrior, I'm sorry.